Hi everyone, welcome to the channel, or welcome back if you're a returning watcher. I'm George, I'm the Good Lad Gamer, and we are pulling Void Shards. Not for any other reason apart from the fact that it's a 2x event. I'm not doing any other tournaments, there's a champion chase on, I'm not bothered by that. I just want to pull some shards. And that's all I really have to say about it, to be honest. I want to pull shards. I want to pull my voids. There's no fusion or fragment going on or anything like that. There are a couple events on, but I'm not bothered by them. So I'm just going to pull the shards. I'm going to see what I get. Hopefully we get a legendary out of it. And then I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to carry on with my weekend, and I'm not going to bother doing anything else to do with this weekend and the events that are on. And I have about 30 Void Shards on each of my accounts. So we're here on the Kale account, I've got 29, and I think I've got 28 on my other account. So in total, we're going to be pulling sort of nearly 60 Void Shards, and hopefully we can get a legendary out of it, at least on one of the accounts. I'm not sure where my Mercy is at the moment. Fingers crossed it's in a good place and I get some good pulls out of it. And before we get into pulling these shards, guys, if you enjoy my content and want to see more of it, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Subscribing makes a huge amount of difference. I've currently got about 210 subscribers, and my big milestone at the moment is getting to 250. With 250 subscribers, I know that I'm making content that people actually enjoy and want to see more of. So let's get into pulling these voids. So here we are on the Kale account, and as always I'll be talking about champions kits, or going into a champions kit if I pull a legendary. For most voids, even for most epics, even for void epics, I've got most of the big champions that people want. I've got the man-eaters, I've got the seers and everything like that. So it's only really legendaries that I'm too bothered about. We do have a ×10 on 4 Rio Bone Spear. Rio Bone Spear is actually a really good champion, and I think it's Rio that does something similar to... Maybe it's not Rio. I was thinking it was Rio that does something similar to War Chief? Is that his name? What's his name? Let me look this up. He's an orc. The orc... I've got him, Warlord, that's it. So I thought it was Rio that does something similar to Warlord, but it's clearly not. I think Rio just puts down a huge amount of debuffs on the enemy champions, and also blocks buffs on your champion. So a really good champion to have around. Does a stun on our A2, and does all of these debuffs against debuff on an enemy target. So only for one enemy on the enemy team, but pretty good for PvP, and can really shut down some of the enemy PvPers, whether that's the reviver or the damage dealer. But I'm not too bothered about Rio Bone Spear. Probably a really good champion, and I'm not saying enough about her, but I'm not too bothered. I'm still looking for the big boy champions, the big boy void legendaries, like a Siphi or a champion like that. So that's what I'm going for. So let's get into pulling these shards. I'm going to try and take it slow. I've noticed in my last couple of videos that I just bash through these. What has just happened? A legendary, second champion in on my first 10 pull. Alil, I don't know anything about Alil. I think, is Alil the champion that isn't actually very good? I think that might be the case. Let's go into Alil's kit. He's a cool looking champion. I'm not the biggest fan of the Sylvan Watchers. I guess they're like a wood elf type faction, which isn't sort of my go-to in any game, any sort of fantasy game like this. But I've got a legendary straight out of the bat, which is pretty cool, and he has a really big scythe, which is actually an aesthetic that I really like. So on Alil's A1, attacks one enemy, steals all buffs from the target. The first time this champion hits with this skill, I can't read today apparently, this effect cannot be resisted. Each subsequent time this attack hits an enemy, no buffs will be stolen. Instead, the damage will be increased by 10% for each buff on the target. So I guess there's going to be something going on with a passive or something like that, because the title of his A1 says attacks one enemy. It doesn't say how many times. So then on his A2, attacks one enemy, will ignore Strengthen, Stone Skin, Increase Defense, and Allied Protection. If this attack kills an enemy, fully heals this champion and places Stone Skin buff on them for one turn. Okay, so Alil actually could be a really good champion. I haven't seen him used too much, so maybe I'm missing something here, but to be able to ignore Stone Skin is an absolute game changer in PvP. I've got Georgid on my Galek account, and he's pretty insane. He's pretty good. So that might be an interesting skill. And I'm on my Kale account where I don't really have a counter for Stone Skin. So Alil might come in and be that counter champion. And then on his A3, attacks all enemies before attacking, removes any increased defense buffs on each target, then replaces them with a 60% decrease defense debuff for 2 turns. Also removes Strengthen, and replaces it with Weaken for 2 turns. Places a block buff debuff for 1 turn on enemies not under increased defense or strengthen before attacking. The buff removal and the debuff replacement cannot be resisted, so you don't need to build him with accuracy in his kit. And then on his passive, he has increased this champion's HP by 2,000 and defense by 100 for every 1,000 attack they have. Fills this champion's turn meter by 10% whenever they receive a buff. So he's got some sort of built-in survivability. I'm not sure if he's going to be an all-out attack champion that really makes much difference. But I guess if you can load him up with like 5,000 attack, then he's going to have an extra 10,000 HP, which actually makes him really survivable. So I don't know, I need to look into this champion because he might actually make his way into some of my teams. And then on his aura, increases ally crit rate in all battles by 25%. So if he's going to be in your PvP team, you only need to build your champions with 75% crit rate. So that's Alil, maybe a champion that I'm going to look into, maybe a champion that's going to make his way into my PvP team, because I don't have a champion that can counter Stone Skin, unless you include Uko, but I haven't built Uko for that purpose. I've built Uko for the Cursed City, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. But moving on, let's see if we get any more decent champions. We've got all rares in there, not interested in rares. I've got all of the Void champions needed for the Lady Mikage fusion, so I'm not really interested in them. So we will just keep going, and hopefully we get something just as good later down the line. I can't believe, though, that I got a Legendary and my second champion of a 10 pull. That's pretty good. My first 10 pull. Pretty cool. Pretty good. We've got Genbo the Dishonored. I've already got a copy. If anyone has been playing for a couple of months now, you would have got Genbo with the Amazon, I think it is, the Amazon free champion that you get. But that is the 20. Now just time to pull the 9 individuals. So let's get into it. Rare. Steadfast Marshal, not Warcaster. Warcaster is in my Galek Clan Boss team. That can 1-key Ultra Nightmare. Paragon for the Paragon Cheese. I've never actually used Paragon for the Paragon Cheese, but there he is. I guess he's just going to be food on my account. We've got a Boro. Not interested in a Boro. Although I do think I used... Did I use a Boro in my Faction Wars? I'm not sure. Ash Walker. A rare. I mean, after putting Legendary, I don't think there's going to be any good champions after that. Ruggnor, Gold Gleam. Not interested. Ruggnor, you're going to be food eventually. I've done Faction Wars for anyone that doesn't know that. I've got Lydia. I've done Faction Wars. I don't need any Faction Wars champions. Another rare. All rares. Kurzad. Deep Heart. Not interested. Let's see if we get one more legendary. A rare. Dagger. A legendary. An epic. An epic. Scathix. I think I used Scathix. Scathix is built on my account, on one of my accounts anyway, for Faction Wars. Definitely a good champion to have around if you're doing Faction Wars or you're trying to beat Faction Wars, but not a champion I need on my accounts right now. So what I'll do, guys, I'll go onto my Galek account and we'll do exactly the same over there, and hopefully we have just as good luck. And here we are on the Galek account. We're going to do exactly the same. We've got 28 shards, 28 voids, a legendary. Let's go. First 10 pull. Come on. Rare. Steadfast Marshal, not interested. Her respects. Steadfast Marshal again. Panthera. Ablaster. Centurion. And Daywalker. Come on to the next 10 pull. No one of interest in that one. Looks like the last one, really. All rares. An all rare pull. Not looking good. Paragon for the Paragon treat cheese. Reliquary Tender, actually a really good champion. One of the first champions you could probably get with a revive on it if it's not Seal of the Drakes. And that, only 8 more voids left. That's sad. That's not looking good. But let's go. Come on. I'm feeling lucky. Another legendary. Panthera, not interested. On to the next one. Another rare. Kurzad. Not interested in you. I only want legendaries. Sounds greedy when I say it like that. Marquise. Another rare. Huntress. Another rare. Harrier. Another rare. Dagger. Right, the last two are legendary. An epic. Ethlen the Golden. Not really interested in Ethlen. It's not looking good, guys. That was bad luck. But oh well, we move on. We got one legendary on my other account, on the Kale account. So I would say it's probably pretty good luck for 60 voids. But it's not ideal. And that is it for all of the voids on both of my accounts. We did get one legendary. Unfortunately, we only got one on one account. We got no champions of note on the Galek account, which is a sad scene. But that is the luck of the draw. Hopefully on the next Shardpool video, I will get some good champions. I've got 125 Ancients on this account. I've got 40 Sacreds. So I'm sure between those two, there is room for some good champions when the next ×2 weekend comes around. Thanks for watching, guys. As I always say, if you've got any good champions or anyone to sort of write about, any game-changing champions in your roster, then please do let me know in the comments. I might be able to give some advice. There's not that many champions that I know of. There's only the big boys that everyone talks about that I really know much information about. But I'll always give it a shot and let you know if I think that champion's good or not. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.